Welcome to another episode of Inspired Voices, the reality show edition. Of course, I'm here with my fiancée, Sybil. Just Sybil.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
sorry.
you. Just Sybil.
I was trying to be French about it. I don't know.
The Europeans do like my name, actually.
I'm sure they do. Yeah. It rings off the tongue.
Yeah. Americans, not so much. They don't even put it on, like, my cup at Starbucks. So.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
What do they say instead?
No, they'll, like, write it, and they just don't say anything. They'll just put it out.
Oh, right. But what do people say? Like, they
We don't need to talk about how people butcher my name all the time.
Okay,
it's
fine.
2 syllables. I don't get it, but it's all right.
Okay, so moving on. We are covering Love is Blind, episodes 10 through 12. It gets a little crazy.
Finally,
right? Not that, we want good for the world.
I know, that sounded really bad.
I know, it does sound really bad.
Gets interesting.
It gets interesting, yes, for sure. And here at Inspired Voices, we like to motivate people and get different perspectives of life. So that's kind of one of the reasons, even though this is like a reality show and it's like, oh, the drama, but like we also get to see different perspectives of different people. So I think that's where it kind of fits in with Inspired Voices. So with episode 10, let's just get into it.
So it is entitled, Oh, Spare Me. And as we get through the episode, that title fits.
Yeah.
So we open with a recap, of the pods, and they're reintroducing us to Mason, Megan, Madison, and Alex, as we could have forgotten them. Come on now.
Right.
And then we go through the couples in preparation for the meetup, and we get day 14 until the weddings. I really appreciate the countdown they're giving us to kind of help put everything in context.
Yeah, that's true.
So we open with Lauren and Dave.
Oh boy.
Lauren and Dave.
They're just trying so hard.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
Well, one of them is.
Yeah, thank you. Who shouldn't be? And we're going to get into that.
That's right.
So it's the morning after the fight. And we see Dave, he's at his apartment. And Lauren hasn't heard from him since. And he's turned his phone off. We assume, or she assumes,
right,
because she texted him and it went to green. So she still feels like they can get there for some reason. And you can tell she's still desperately trying.
Yeah, she's definitely frustrated as well. Like you can see it all over her face.
Yeah, but still invested. Dave comes back and just asks, how she slept. And Lauren says it was hard not to have him there. And then she brings up, Lauren is such a problem solver.
Yeah.
Like she's just like, okay, it's almost like she's ignoring what's happening. She's just like, I'm gonna be solution focused and ignore the actual problem. Because she brings up problem solving, and they sit down and try and like work through like different approaches.
Yeah.
About like, because Dave was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do when someone like asks me about the situation. So she's like trying to like literally like kind of role play and like work through it with him.
Yeah.
Also very much a teacher like, pulling from that background.
And she also says like, we problem solve in different ways, and that's okay. It's not okay.
You leaving the apartment for the week is not problem solving.
Right.
That is avoiding.
That's right.
And heaven knows whatever else he's doing when he's out with his friends and his sister and all of the things when he's just not dealing with these problems. Because I believe at that point he was like, oh, right, I remember. So she was like asking like, so what'd you do? And he's like, oh, I went to this bar and had a good time. And then like she starts like re-questioning him. And I was like, oh, she's concerned that something else may have happened.
Yeah.
Like it was giving, don't trust you right now.
Right.
And like she's also wanting to know like what's happening with, you not texting, blah, blah, blah. So Dave goes through his night, says he got drinks with friends, says it was fun, which is weird. But then says it was hard to enjoy anything,
right,
which I remember you were like, but wait a minute. He just said it was fun.
That's right. Yeah. He just seems to have like a lot of excuses. And he's like trying to like paint this picture of like, yeah, this is what happened. Da, da, da.
Dave is the king of flip-flops.
Yeah.
And I can't. So, mind you, it is 2 p.m. when he's gotten back to the apartment. And he's been gone since the night before. So he was like, oh, well, I fell asleep again from like 9 to like 11:30, and then my phone died. Yeah. Like it's harkening back to some old seasons of Love is Blind where it's like, I need receipts. I need to know where you were.
Yeah.
So then Lauren asked him again, like, which bar were you at? And she wanted the story again because it just seemed weird. But then they seemed to like let it go. Dave then, of course, brings up Molly because what would an episode be if Dave didn't bring up Molly?
Right.
And he mentions that, like, while he was at the bar, people were like, oh, do you want to meet Molly? And he's like, no, that would be the dumbest thing ever. So denies meeting Molly. In my notes, I have Lauren suspicious.
Yeah.
And then we find out that while Dave was out with his friends, Lauren went to meet her parents.
Yeah.
That is the worst look ever.
From David?
Definitely for David, but also just like as the woman thinking like your man is out with his friends and hasn't met your parents. Why are you still fighting for this? Because I know if I was her mother, I'd be like, why are we fighting for this?
Yeah.
Because he is not fighting for you.
And they came into town for this, didn't they?
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
We don't know where they're from.
Right.
So yeah, Dave is worried about answering Lauren's parents when they question how he's going to move on. And clearly Dave is worried about that in general because he can't answer these questions.
Yeah.
He says it's fine. And then 10 minutes later, he's right back at rehashing the entire story, which we have heard so many times at this point.
I don't understand why he keeps repeating the story to Lauren when she knows the story.
And
she knows.
Just like humiliating her, making her feel bad, like making her feel small. Like, because I think he wants that validation of, you messed this up. You need to own that you messed this up, and then you need to do all the fixing. Like, it's everything is on her.
Right.
And
Isn't that like narcissistic behavior, or is it manipulation?
It's definitely manipulation. I think in his case, in particular, it is extreme immaturity. You know, he is also very much playing, and like what you'll notice is multiple people throughout these drops are like, did you not flirt with anyone? Did you not sleep with anyone? Like, what makes her bad? Because he's also making things extremely black and white. And there's a whole bunch of gray here.
Right.
So.
Yeah, the immaturity definitely does fit with David, you know, given that everything has to go through his sister kind of thing.
Weird. And we
Very
get into
weird.
that. Super weird. And I hope this woman is truly nice. And I hope she comes into the reunion and can redeem herself. Because when people find out who his sister is, he has painted such a controlling, weird picture of her.
Yeah.
Without her being able to like show for herself, that it's just like, buddy, you painted a really bad picture and of the both of you. And it's also kind of creepy.
Right.
So I hope we find out that she's actually nice and this is all Dave, actually.
Yeah.
So actually, this is the part where Lauren says, let's workshop it, like how he should respond when her parents ask, how are you going to move through this? And Lauren says that regardless, you know, she's just going to tell them that she wants to be with him. And Dave says, you know, he feels the same way, which I don't know, with these folks. Like at this point, I have in my notes, I feel like an auntie because like I'm yelling at the screen. Like I feel like the older person who's just like, Lauren, now you're starting to make me mad because you need to know your worth.
Right.
You are worth more than this.
Exactly.
And yeah, that's where
they left off. I mean, the whole time I was just like, what?
literally.
I don't understand.
Literally. Well, no one does, but that's also why it's starting to get interesting.
That's right.
Which is terrible.
But good.
Yeah. So all right, we move on to Monica and Joey. Monica's sister's back, Nicole.
Yay.
And turns out she's a photographer.
Ooh.
And she's doing their engagement photo shoot, which immediately I was just like, you have to be so careful about who you choose to do your photography or something like that in the first place, much less somebody who doesn't like your fiance.
That's true.
So, okay, let's bring that energy to the photo shoot.
Yeah.
But also free. So, you know what?
That's
Can't
true.
judge.
And it is, I will say it is a good chance for her to really get to know Joey and stuff like that, because she was right, you know, after the photo shoot, they were having fun and stuff like that. And then after the photo shoot, they were talking and she was like, you know, I really got to see you guys in your kind of natural state, and the camera doesn't lie when you're, you know, trying to take photos and stuff like that. So like she could really see a sense of connection with them.
They got there eventually. Like I will say initially I had my notes like her sister hates her with these photos because they started out with like dance moves and it was very awkward and I was just like, "Oh no." But it got there. Like it got cute. To Monica's credit, she talked to her sister about their interaction and wants them to get along, like wants the sister and Joey to get along.
Yeah.
You know, she addresses her sister directly, which I'd be honest, I didn't really think Monica had it in her after that first interaction. You know,
I think Joey knocked some sense into her though. Like,
I think
not in a bad way,
they're good
but
in that way.
yeah.
Like he said, "Hey, I think this is what needs to happen." She was open to it. It happened, and she straight up said, "I don't think you gave Joey a fair shake." Accurate. And the sister admits it. You know, she says she wasn't nice. You know, when she met Joey, and reiterates Joey did nothing wrong, which was necessary.
Yeah.
She needed to do that because she came and him left for no reason. You know. And Joey took everything in stride. And then he asked his sister, he throws it back to her. "Do you have specific concerns?" And the sister mentions their energy levels are different. And this was an interesting argument.
Yeah.
She was like, "Joey, you have a lot of energy and we're nappers."
I think those are two different things, and you can't really compare those things together.
I mean, I like naps too.
Yeah, but like, I think she's using the wrong word, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, like calm people kind of thing, maybe is what she's talking about.
Yeah, maybe like they're low key and
Low-key,
he's,
yeah.
you know, all over the place, but then he was like, "But wait, like I have a lot of depth to me," you know, because I think the way he's coming at it is people who just meet him may perceive him as like this nice goofball, like this lovable goofball. But Joey's been through life, you know, and he's like, "No, just because, you know, you see this one side of me doesn't mean I don't have depth.
Right.
And doesn't mean that maybe I don't like naps." He didn't say that part, but I feel like it's accurate.
Yeah.
So Monica and Joey, you know, they defend their energy match a bit. And the sister's like, "I'm just being protective." But she, like you said, she says, "Well, I see it now, you know, since doing the photo shoot." And she says that she thinks Joey is super kind and authentic.
There we go.
Finally.
The seal on the
Approval?
envelope?
Seal of approval.
Seal, okay, yeah, seal of approval.
So he got it from the disapproving sister.
That's right.
We move on to Sarah and Ben.
No.
Did you just groan?
Oh, so yeah.
Oh, okay. And they open with talking about the TikTok.
Right.
Ben is confused why it's such a big deal to the TikToker.
Yeah.
I feel like Ben spends a lot of his time confused and not remembering a lot of things.
I mean, to his credit, I don't know, like the way he paints it, you know, 2 months, maybe casual dating with her,
I think
couple
you're confusing
dates.
that with Lauren.
No,
Okay.
no, the relationship between the TikToker and Ben, like it wasn't, to him, it wasn't like a serious relationship. Maybe,
at all.
Maybe a couple dates, didn't even
Right.
have sex or anything like that.
Right. Maybe
And
some
so-
DMs that he didn't initiate.
Right, but you know, the way his perspective is painting it, I kind of would agree with him saying, why is it such a big deal to the TikToker? But we don't know her side.
Right. And he says that people don't know him to question his character. So he also doesn't, you know, get where kind of all the outside noise, why they'd be coming at him that way.
Yeah.
We get a lot of conversations kind of about outside noise in this season. I feel like that's a theme,
Yeah.
you know, of them trying to deal with everybody else's feelings.
Right, and I think we've known that from the past seasons, but it's never been like out loud like that.
They've never announced it on the show during the show. That's the difference. We've been finding out after the show at reunions, like Tyler and Ashley, like that whole thing. Well, we did find out-ish during the show.
Yeah.
But it was framed in a very different way,
Right.
and then all the stuff came out on social media.
Uh-huh.
You know, this is the first time where it's like, oh, no, you're seeing the TikTok while you're there and all the stuff is going on.
Yeah, but it seems like Sarah and Ben came to an understanding.
To me, it felt like he just wanted her to speed through it. Where he's just like, I get this is happening, but like, they don't know me. It's fine. Just, I understand why he doesn't want it to affect their relationship.
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
also
yeah.
feels like he just doesn't want her to think about it too much. Like, don't put those pieces together. Leave that puzzle separate.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people need to realize when they come on the show, you can't hide anything.
No.
People will find out.
Yeah, I mean, between them and housewives, like, why does no one learn? People are going to find out. All right, so then we move on to Virginia and Devin, an interesting couple that still can't quite figure out.
But they're meeting her mom.
At the restaurant, yes.
It was sweet.
The mom asked Devin, the mom had great questions.
Yeah, she did.
Love this mom. And it didn't come off as like, to me, it didn't come off as like an interview. It came off as like, have y'all thought about this?
Yeah.
Also, while not being accusatory. It's a rare thing to be able to do. Mom asked Devin how he knows he's ready. And, you know, I will say, like, Devin just kind of lists off all these kind of like common things. Like, you know, we're both religious. We both live here. Like, it was a little bit like surfacey to me. So I was like, okay. And then he talks about what he does. And then the mom's like, oh, well, I was a teacher. So anybody who like loves like kids and dogs is good in my book, which I thought was super cute.
Yeah.
So what I really appreciated about Virginia's mom is that she not only asked Devin questions, she also asked her own child questions. Because it takes two to tango in a marriage.
Yeah.
You know, it's not all on Devin. And she also knows her child.
Right.
She turns to Virginia and asks what commitment is to her. And Virginia says,
That's
it's about,
a good question.
Right? Like, because commitment can be different things to different people.
Right.
And if you are committing your lives together, it seems like a basic question. Not.
You could also get an understanding of like how traditional they are as well with that question. Yeah.
She says, fighting for us, you know, fighting to be there, working things out together. And then the mom says, but what if you change? You know, people change. Excuse me. People change over time, you know, and a lot of times that's why relationships don't work, because people don't change together. They don't, those changes don't complement each other. They don't grow at the same pace. And Virginia says, you should expect each other to change, you know, which is insightful.
Yeah.
You know,
Good
because it's true. Life changes you.
Yeah.
So mom says Virginia is stubborn, but Virginia's like, I'm not stubborn, I'm opinionated, which I appreciate that, you know, her differentiating, because it's true. There's a difference between being stubborn versus being opinionated.
People could get that confused for sure. I can see that.
Right. And Devin's like, well, no, I think, you know, she's still open to things. So I was like, thank you, sir. Back you, lady. And
that's true. He backed his lady up. Yeah.
And in my notes, which is also telling, but in my notes I just have, they all say the right things. All of them.
Yeah. Same.
I love this meetup, pulled up my heartstrings a bit. And then I was like, wait, so I guess they're ready to get married? Question mark. And then we go from that lovely, mature conversation to Lauren and David.
There we go.
So we find out the older lady that they meet in the promos is Lauren's mom.
Yes.
Her mom asks what they need to know about Dave.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, he wasn't there to meet them the night before. He was out with his friends.
Right.
So, you know, and the dad's not there. So she's asking for two. Dave said, and then this was so weird to me. He says, well, you know, all of my friends have kids, you know, and I'm ready to have a kid.
Yeah. Seems fun. That's what he said.
I'm just like, you're not even ready to sleep in the same apartment, but you want to have a kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it seems fun. That was not a mature answer at all. That was a red flag for me.
I'm surprised Lauren wasn't like, oh, we can wait a while. Like, you know.
Yeah.
So then Dave said he knew Lauren was the one when the reality of it working out, as in their relationship, freaked him out.
Say that one more time.
Dave knew that Lauren was the one when the reality of their relationship working out freaked him out.
Oh, because that's...
Because when the idea of commitment came up, that freaked him out. So he was like, she must be it. Right. You know, fear.
My God.
That's the key.
Yeah.
So we also find out here, I'm sure we found out earlier, but this is one of those other scenarios, which is also kind of creepy. And I keep saying it's creepy and weird, but we also find out that Lauren's dad is also named Dave. That's 3 times in this season, because Taylor and Daniel, her dad is named Daniel.
Right.
And then with Brittany and Devin, their daddies were both named Willie, and we were not sure if they were related for a while.
Yeah.
or, you know, a couple.
And they were juniors, so their grandpas were
Right.
Willies too.
They had to do their Are We Relatives
There's
check.
a lot of Willies.
So, right. Then we find out that Lauren's dad, Dave, doesn't want to be on camera.
Yeah.
That's what we're finding out.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And Dave brings up, you know, because apparently Lauren's mom wouldn't know, even though she does, all the chatter in the real world that's happening.
Right.
And the mom asks, what is your sister afraid of? Mm-hmm. And Dave says his sister is scared that he'll end up with a girl who just wants to be famous.
I feel like that question could be answered right away. Solved. Put down.
No one wants to be, well, I won't say no one because there are some, but Lauren doesn't come off, at least in what we see, as someone who she wouldn't go through all this to be famous. Like, they are dragging your name through the mud.
Yeah. She really does seem genuine.
And they keep just saying, we don't have to be here. We're choosing to be here. Why?
Right.
Why would she choose to go through all of this if she really didn't want to be with you? Because you aren't even standing by her. She is over there by herself. So.
But he also says that he has grown in the last month more than 32 years.
Yes, he does.
And I was like, oh my God, you have not lived life, my friend. Where have you been?
So I wrote, he's doing exactly what he did in the pods, flip-flopping. He has just dogged this girl out the other day, didn't sleep in the apartment. Like, and now he's just like, I'm ready for kids, and I knew she was the one, and, you know, all of this, that, and the other. And it's just like, it's like a whirlwind. You're getting whiplash dealing with Dave.
And I wrote down, he's trying to find the right chords to play, or the right cards to play, and it's building up, and at some point, it's going to pile up, and it's going to fall down.
That's what a house of cards will do.
Boom.
Not a good foundation.
No, it's not.
So, and then Lauren's mom ends it with like, look, we trust her and we're going to back her 100%. And I think like that warmed my heart because clearly Lauren needs somebody. And she doesn't have anybody.
Right.
You know, and that's when it was really nice to just be like, look, we're here and we back her. Okay. So then we move from that to Taylor and Daniel because I feel like they knew we needed a Taylor and Daniel moment.
Right.
You know, bring us to some putt-putt. Let's talk about Christmas and have a good time.
Yeah, that was pretty much it, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even write anything down. I just said Taylor and Daniel.
Oh, I do have, they talked about their first dance song, what that would be. We didn't get any details.
Yeah.
And I have their cute and boring. Yeah. And then Daniel just says he's distracted by things at work with everything going on.
Right.
But like he had sent her like a text like one day at a time and it meant the world to her. That's it.
That's it.
Then we move back to
That's how you do it in a relationship.
Well, in a healthy one where you're not trying to like make sure your partner doesn't leave you every 10 minutes. Then we get to Virginia and David, and we have, this was one of the most interesting conversations of the season for me so far.
Oh, really?
They're lying in bed. Ring a bell?
Yeah.
Devin wants to know how Virginia thinks it went with her mom. And Virginia's like, no, I think, you know, my mom really liked you. And Virginia does what we see she actually does several times throughout the season is she asks Devin again, is there anything we need to talk about before we get married?
Right.
And they're both like, no, I don't really think so. And then Virginia says it's important to show love in action form. And she feels like he does that. And Devin wants to know if she would tell him if she wanted more from him, you know? And it just sounds like, it just sounds like they maybe also haven't had sex yet.
Yeah, that's what I wrote too. It sounds like they didn't have sex. They don't have sex. They haven't had sex.
Which after I saw them in the pool in Honduras on the getaways, I 100% thought that, oh, okay, you guys are getting it in. But, you know, Devin asked like if she was comfortable with the physical aspect of things.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, have you guys had sex?
Now thinking back, like, is he talking about in public? Maybe?
I mean, they do talk about like, you know,
They talk about
PDA and like things like that.
How he doesn't like that, right?
Except with her. That's part of how he knew he was in love because now he's doing the PDA.
Right.
And he has gotten better at
He's working on it. Yeah.
So I'm not sure about that. because yeah, Devin also said historically he's been uncomfortable sleeping in the bed with other people.
Right.
Which I'm also just like, what made you uncomfortable? Like, I'm curious. Like, I wish there would have been a follow-up question about like, can you tell me more? You know? So Virginia wants to know what will make Devin mad. And he says they've already had these conversations. And then she goes into politics.
Yeah.
And like she giggles about it, knowing full well it's about to be some mess. I'm pretty sure.
You think she knew?
I think a little bit.
Yeah.
I think they probably had a conversation. She goes, what about politics? And I was like, okay, girl. So Devin says that he doesn't have a strong stance one way or another. Red flag for me.
Right.
And Virginia says she usually votes Democratic. And then Devin says, Devin asked her if she votes aligning with her faith. And then Virginia kind of lays it out. And she was like, well, she describes how different Christians can see differently on the same issue.
Great communication.
It's not a monolith.
Right.
No, it's not. Not everybody is the same. And she thinks that people should have abortion rights and then gay people should have rights. And in my notes I have Devin is real quiet.
Yep.
He's sitting there, arms folded, just kind of looking up real quiet.
Just staring at her.
And then says, he goes back and forth and says a man should be able to give his opinion on abortion. Meaning if they're in a couple, it shouldn't only be the woman's decision.
Right.
And Virginia asks if they would vote the same way. And Devin says...
That's a good way to approach it.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially like on camera. I don't think she's like trying to like drag him, like, but she's like, I would like to know. And Devin says, he gives her a non-answer and says, well, if they voted different, would that be okay? So answer.
Yeah.
And she says, we could talk about that more. Reading between the lines. No. But reading between the lines. She asks how his family voted. And he says they voted Republican.
Right.
And she says her family doesn't vote that way, but they're black. So I was just like, I
felt a little like as soon as she said that, she like looked over at him and she realized like, not like that, but like, I don't know.
I did not get that vibe
really?
Until he looked at her and clarifies, well, my dad is black. And then it was just kind of awkward and he's folding his arms and looking up.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I got to giggle. I got to giggle from that one when she said that. Cause it was so, I feel like we don't see much of Virginia outside of being shy and
nice
and just compliant.
Which she was nice about it.
Totally. But she also said what she was very much giving, but I said what I said.
Yeah.
And I feel how I feel.
Right.
And I was like, this is what your mama's talking about, but I appreciate it because it isn't stubborn. It is opinionated.
Yeah.
And this was the moment when I was like, oh, they're not getting married. Like between episodes, between scenes with them, I'm like, what's happening?
Right.
So I thought this was a very interesting conversation.
I wrote down, she's a subtle sniper.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that you said that.
Yeah. Because I was just like, because I was so surprised by it. I didn't think she had it in her.
Right.
To have like these real conversations. Because at first I didn't think she was interested, honestly. And then it's like, oh, you are interested and you're kind of crying when you talk about him. But you also, to me, it actually reassures me that she's actually more serious about this. Why have these conversations if you're not?
Right.
Just be cute, get through it, get some Instagram fame and call it a day. You don't have to go through all this.
Especially the prenup and all that stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, she's serious about it.
But yeah, I always appreciate good, thoughtful questions that mean things in life.
Yeah.
So then we get another countdown, 12 days until the wedding. And we move back to Sarah and Ben. Sarah and Ben meet Sarah's sister and her sister's partner. I wish I knew the partner's name because I don't feel like, I'm sure they like did a quick snippet, but I didn't see it again.
Right.
So they meet at a bar, which also, I'm pretty sure it was a drag bar because there was a drag queen behind Sarah's sister at one point. And I was like, all right, I see what you're doing. So then Sarah says everything is going good, which she always says. That's the name of their storyline. And apparently neither of them are feeling any stress or pressure about things.
Yeah. And we get more clarification from her sister too. Like, cause she says, you don't go to church, right? Because before it was like, oh, really, it was kind of like an iffy answer when she said like if she goes to church or not.
She said she didn't, but she'd be open to it.
Right. But like the fact that her sister said, "Oh no, you don't go to church at all," and now you're gonna go to church.
Her sister, in a very loving and in a very supportive way, was just like, you need to keep in mind, you just met. And in a nice way, kind of brought up those fundamental things you're talking about. Like, you don't go to church.
Yeah.
So are you going to go now? Like, I think Sarah's sister is trying to be like, what is your life going to look like now?
Right.
Not just right now, but moving forward when you get out of this honeymoon stage.
And I will still say, I will still stick to this. Like, a partner that goes to church regularly and someone who does not go to church, is not religious at all, eventually they will clash, because that person that goes to church would want the person to go to church with them, but they don't want to. And eventually there's going to be some conflict there.
I think more so like when children come into play.
Especially when children come into play. Yeah.
So once again, Sarah brings up the pod conversations, and it came to me, it felt like Sarah was selling this as though he was a new car. She was selling this so hard.
Right.
And be like, no. Ben loves equality. Everything is fine. I met his friends. There's some non-white ones. It's great.
Yeah.
You know.
But
And
her sister could read through that, like, easily. So.
as the episodes progress, you could see Sarah's sister really knows her.
Yeah.
And even the sister's partner loved her.
Right.
And she clocks that Sarah keeps saying, Ben, well, he's accepting. And she was like, I need you to stop using the term accept, because we're not accepting you. Like, you guys don't have to be accepted. Why do we have to be accepted?
Right.
And Sarah was like, well, what word should I use? And, the sister's partner, like, de-escalated everything. She's just like, I'm just saying, like bringing that to your realization.
You didn't do anything wrong. It's just, blah, blah, blah.
And, the sister's partner said something, because once again, Sarah is selling this so hard, and she said, we're the same person. And the sister's partner says, finding someone that is your same is not the same as finding your complement. We paused the TV. Like, we paused the TV. I said, that's a word. I'm using that in my real life.
Yeah. Because, like, man, that makes so much sense. As soon as she said that, all my past relationships, that made so much sense. Why it didn't work. You know what I mean?
Because finding the same is not the same as finding your complement.
Right. And how important the balance of those two are.
And I sometimes wonder if people interpret opposites. They're like, oh, well, opposites attract. Are they your opposite, or are they your complement?
Right. I think they're confusing that.
Because there are some folks where it's like, if you do not agree on the same basic fundamental human rights or morals, that's maybe a little different.
Yeah.
But having those nuances of, maybe the left brain versus the right brain, kind of those types of things, they may be your complement.
Right.
And then together, it's like, ooh, it's your superpower to being together,
Yeah,
because you're bringing the best out of each other.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
So
interesting. Very interesting.
They could have a spinoff. They could be on my TV. Sarah's sister and her partner. Actually, a lot of the relatives on this season could.
Yeah,
like Virginia's mom.
Right.
Lauren's mom.
Right.
Yeah, give me them, actually. It's just folks with good sense.
Right, yeah. I'm glad we see some common sense in here.
Yes. So basically their segment ends with the sister just cautioning her that this is not real right now and trying to ground her. But in a respectful, loving way.
Still in the honeymoon phase and all that stuff,
Yeah. Then we go back to Lauren and Dave. And this is how we're going to end out episode 10.
Hey, I thought it was like going to be like a nice, fun date.
So did they. Or so did Lauren.
So did Lauren, yeah.
They're bowling. And they also ate guacamole at the bowling alley.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
That's a lot.
I wouldn't do that.
That's a choice. And who wants to argue while you're bowling?
Yeah.
But they did. So they talk about meeting up with the pod folks because it's coming up.
Oh, wait, hold on. Before they do that, so while they're bowling, she was doing so bad, right?
So bad.
And then she got a strike.
Yep.
And David did not kind of react to it at all. I was like, damn, I would have hyped her up a little at least.
You do. I can confirm. You not only would have, you do. Like, it's what you do. And she just kind of looks, you know what, maybe it was editing.
She's like, I got a strike. I was like, and he was like, oh, yeah.
I'm surprised he wasn't like with another dude. like,
His friends.
I know, right? Because they said you would. So they're eating the guacamole.
Yeah. After
Taking
bowling.
a little break from the bowling.
Sure.
And they start to talk about the meetup with the pod folks because it's supposed to be the next night. And Lauren's worried because she knows these folks would also have heard what's been going on. And she doesn't want more opinions. And Dave admitted in Honduras that it would be easy for him to fall back based on other people's opinions. Why she did not leave his behind in Honduras, I will never know.
Oof.
That's such an uncomfortable situation to be in, knowing that you are going to have to fend for yourself, girl, in a partnership.
The fact that someone can easily manipulate him.
And he knows it.
Yeah.
And he's like, so I'm just going to tell you, if they tell me that things are rough, I'm probably going to go that way.
Yeah.
So they talk about Dave's sister again, and that she's surprised it's gone as far as it has, even though the sister still hasn't met Lauren.
Right. And he says that he told her sister, no, it's not going to last this long. I was like, damn, that's fucked up.
Well, we find out it just gets, they basically are like, oh, well, we don't want to have this conversation here right now.
Yeah.
So then they go, it looks like honestly, like a movie theater type
like
room?
a small little movie theater. Yeah.
So they're in there talking, and the conversation devolves quickly. Mm-hmm. He's talked to her dad. We find out they met off camera, but he feels like it's a lot of stress, and he doesn't know if his sister and Lauren will meet because, you know, his family, they just don't meet anyone, and he doesn't want to waste his sister's time either.
Damn. Not even for his future wife.
That's one of the meanest things I've ever heard said on the show. I was just like, and like, finally Lauren was like, I'm sorry, what? You don't know if you want to waste her time.
Right.
Then what are we doing? And Lauren says, if you don't see it with me, I want to know. Mm-hmm. Long pause from David. And it's clear David is trying not to be the bad guy, but he's been the villain this whole time anyway.
Yeah. And within that conversation, he also reiterates the same damn story
again
about why.
Lauren says she doesn't know how much longer she can do this with Dave.
Right.
And, you know, says he doesn't want to have the conversation. Then they're going to go, oh, sorry, they're going to go have it somewhere else. We got into some of the conversation that they were having, but we'll get there. That actually wrapped up episode 11.
Right.
Yeah. We got a little bit into it. That's okay.
Okay.
Or excuse me, episode 10. Now we're getting into episode 11.
There we go.
So we move into episode 11, sliding down slopes and into DMs. Things have gotten interesting.
Yep.
So once again, we open with Lauren and David. David was confident, or he says he was confident until they came home again and heard from his friends and family. And here's where we get into him reiterating the same story again.
Right.
Don't know. I can only imagine how sick Lauren is of hearing this because we're sick of hearing it and we're not there.
Her head was down the whole time. Just like, just
like we can mute it. Like she doesn't have that option. So Dave reiterates that Lauren should have ended it with this guy, but she didn't. And he had to ask because she didn't tell him. Mm-hmm. So once again, you know, you're the liar. You're the reason this has happened.
Right. Same shit, different day.
Thank you. So, and then Dave is also throwing stones again and says that this guy still texts her. And then Lauren's like, okay, let me clarify. He texted me because I had been gone for 3 weeks and he wasn't getting responses. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, you know, we're just texting back and forth.
Right.
So he says his friends would not lie to him. And she isn't telling him the whole story. I'm just like, okay. Lauren did not. And then he reiterates, you know, well, you hooked up 2 days beforehand. She's like, I wasn't 2 days. It was a week.
Yeah.
Like at this point, you can finally start to tell her. She's like, okay, we're just going to go through this again. I'm going to have to tell you again.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah. For the 5th time.
Right. Dave says he's going back to it because of how her dad approached them. And this is actually where the conversation really devolves. And I had a hard time following it because basically, Lauren starts, and she's like, you're not ready to be a teammate. And then Dave was like, what do you mean I'm not ready? You're the one who's out there hooking up, and your family came at me in like a way of like, how am I ready when you're doing all of this?
Yeah.
And then they're just arguing about the families. Because then Lauren's like, your family won't come meet me. What are you talking about? We're supposed to get married, and they won't even meet me. Then they're just like, whose fault is everything, and who's ready for the engagement? I just have in my notes, this is painful.
Yeah.
Like this was a real argument. This was not for TV. Nope. This was a couple who was breaking up.
Yep. We're having a breakup conversation.
Lauren is finally starting to question whether Dave actually loves her.
Yeah.
Finally. Because he likes to always be like, well, I love you. But I've never felt like this with anyone else. My God, if this is love, what has it been like when he hasn't liked someone?
Oof.
Right? So, and then I have like Lauren, when people show you who they are, believe them. Because she's still leaving the ball in his court. So she lets Dave break up with her.
Yeah. He says his heart thinks it's the right decision to walk away.
Right. And Dave says he's like sitting outside. She finally, like, after he breaks up with her, she kind of sits there for a while. And I was like, girl, leave. This is awkward. And after they separate, Dave says he felt like he let her down in a certain way.
Yeah. Because
he couldn't get over her seeing someone before him, which he acknowledges is normal.
Right.
And I was like, this is what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
You just said what everybody has been saying and asking and begging of you this whole time. You just broke up with this girl, and not 10 minutes later are like, I couldn't get over what was normal. You were the problem. And then we find out when Lauren is kind of like walking outside. I don't know if she was waiting for an Uber because they rode together. Right. That's also very awkward. If you go and break up, take separate cars. Yeah. And then we find out that apparently Lauren wrote Dave's sister a letter about who she was a week ago. And Dave never gave it to his sister.
Yeah, that's messed up.
I would have broken up with him then and there.
Yep.
That's cruel.
That's very cruel.
Why would you not do that? Like, it's the sister's choice about whether or not she wants to believe it. Why wouldn't you let the sister have the autonomy to make that choice?
Exactly. Yeah.
No,
red flag number 20.
Thank you. I'm glad someone kept count.
Right.
Lauren dodged a bullet. Yep. And in that moment, she doesn't know it yet. But she dodged a bullet. Absolutely. Because that right there.
Him and his friends, all full of red flags.
And his family.
And
Dave
his family.
would never defend her.
Right.
Like it would have been Dave, Lauren, and his sister in that relationship.
I would have, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It would have been interesting to see her meet his sister.
Yes.
Because I feel like if she brought up answers or questions to Lauren, Dave would just kind of like sit back and let everything just happen.
100%.
Not
Lauren would
defend her at
run that
all.
conversation.
Right.
By herself. Yeah. And like when you meet parents or family or other people, like that is where the teamwork comes in.
Yeah.
You should never just leave your partner to fend for themselves.
Right.
Especially if you know your family is super judgmental or, have standards that are so high, Yeah. So
I just picture in like his sister in like a cane, maybe like older than him and kind of like penguin type. That's the way he paints it. You know what I mean? Like
that is how
very
he kind of
controlling.
paints it. Whereas sometimes I'm just like, or is your sister trying to help you like tie your shoes? Because we find out, when he was like, yeah, my sister's the one who told me to buy white sheets.
Yeah.
Why? So we'll see. But then once again, Netflix said, we need to lighten this up. Yeah. So let's go to Taylor and Daniel. And we find out it's not just Taylor and Daniel. It's a group date.
Yep.
And they are tube sledding? I don't know.
Tube sledding?
Is that what it is?
Something like that.
I mean, it's snow, and they're in a tube.
Sliding down the hill.
Yeah. Which looked fun. I do it. I would do it backwards, but I do it. I need to see where I'm going.
Yeah.
So the men are talking, and they ask how Dave is doing, and none of them know. Which I did think was kind of funny. Like, y'all aren't friends.
That's
none of y'all know.
Yeah, nobody's talking to you.
No one could have sent a text. Y'all have your phones back.
Yeah.
And they don't think that they're like, I can't remember which one, but one was like, well, maybe it was Daniel. He was like, do you think they'll date like after it was all done? And they were like, no, I don't think they'll date because of how it ended. And they talk about how, as a kind of like as a group, they deal with people saying that they're rushing, you know. And then we switch to the girls, and it's such a switch because these guys are kind of having, you know, like all these conversations and questions, and the girls are like, I changed my last name.
Yeah.
Here's my new last name, and like I dropped it and all this, and I was just like, all right, respect.
Right. And then Lauren walks in. She's the first person to walk in.
Which I was surprised about.
Yeah.
And the guys greet Lauren, and Ben asks if she brought Dave. And my girl Taylor shuts that down and says, Ben, too soon.
Right.
I was like, thank you, Taylor. Jeez. Taylor was the one that had Lauren's back in Honduras anyway when Dave was walking around being like, you guys having sex?
Oh,
and
right.
she was like, Lauren's nice. Be nice to her.
Yeah.
I was like, thank you. She may be the mama bear of the group.
She may be, yeah.
So Lauren says she's pretty confident she won't hear from Dave because she hasn't heard from him since they broke up. And then Molly shows up, and then we realize, oh, this isn't just a group date. We're into the meetups.
Yeah.
Or the group, like the big group.
Yeah, the big meetup, yeah.
And Molly shows up, then Brittany. And Lauren and Molly talk alone. This warmed my heart. I was here for it.
Yeah.
Molly thanks Lauren for how she approached their time in the pods. And then Molly talks about when she was at the bar and she heard that Dave was there.
Yeah.
And was like, no, I don't need to meet him. I'm good. But then she also heard that a girl was all over Dave while they were there. And it's clear she doesn't know that Lauren and Dave have broke up.
Right.
I always love how Molly's just one step behind. Like, she didn't realize that Lauren was the other girl in the pods. And she's like, I didn't know how to tell you.
Right.
You know? And then Lauren lets her know, like, no, like, we broke up. Lauren explains the whole story to Molly. Immediately, Molly is shocked and supports Lauren and is like, is Dave celibate? Like, is he a virgin? Is that why we're doing this? Is that why there's all this judgment?
And part of me was like, holy shit, is he a virgin?
Like, so, and that, you know, Molly's like, no, he should have supported you. And immediately like, oh, Molly, you're a girl's girl. Like, you are a true girl's girl.
Yeah.
Thank you. But then Molly, a little bit of shade. And what you do when your girlfriend has then been dumped by someone who you're both like, we're not messing with you. She was like, well, once I saw like his Instagram photos, like I was good. It's okay. And I was just like, right.
The way she said it was nice too.
Right. You know, like, she's like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, really, I'm not checking for your man. Like, it's okay.
Give that side look. Ooh.
Right. So then we switch over to Brittany and Devin.
Yeah.
I'm just going to call her Brittany from now on because I can't with the Brittany. So Brittany says that Devin looks like a little kid, which you got a nice little chuckle out of.
I got a little chuckle out of it. I was like, damn, because he looks older.
And then Brittany acknowledges that she thought his reaction to her secret was immature. And then she goes, bro, everybody a little gay? And I was just like...
She didn't know how to describe it, right? So she was like, everybody a little gay.
No, but she was just like, it's not that deep.
Right.
You know, and then they just kind of like shift and talk about Virginia. And Brittany's like, you got a good woman.
Yeah.
And Devin was like, yeah, you know, it's very easy.
Yeah.
And that was our little snippet.
And then she was like, I hope I get invited to the wedding. I was like,
right. And he kind of just laughs.
Yeah.
It was just like, you should invite her. I actually want to see Virginia and Brittany like chat before the wedding. Wouldn't happen, but I want to see it.
Yeah.
Then Dave shows up. He talks with the guys and said he was trying to make it like the breakup, like it wasn't his decision. And it's like, we know. You were trying to make her break up with you.
Right.
By humiliating her and reiterating the same story. But instead, she made you make the decision.
Right.
And then like we kind of gloss over that, and then Madison shows up and we get into some more juicy drama.
Oh yeah.
So Madison shows up, and then almost immediately Meg and Mason show up holding hands together.
Right. Surprised.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay.
They're friends with benefits.
They're hanging out.
They're hanging out, casually hanging out.
So hold on. Meg is 31 and Mason is 33. We don't hang out at our big ages. Like, I'm gonna need you to.
Especially
do we have a
holding hands.
definition? Y'all, he was gonna propose to you after talking to you for 10 days, and now y'all are hanging out.
Right,
No, thank you.
Right.
So they started talking, as soon as they got their phones back. Meg looked him up, sent him a message. Mason tried finding her for hours, apparently, and couldn't find her.
I get that. You know, sometimes I try and look up people. I'm like, damn, I cannot find them.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even have an Instagram for like many years, so I get it. So then we find out they met up and had their own reveal.
Yeah.
And filmed it.
Right. It was at someone's house, and it was. I thought that was weird.
It's giving you want more screen time.
Yeah.
Why would you film your own reveal? Why not just meet at a coffee shop or so? I don't.
Right.
She was like, oh yeah, I have this dress, this reveal dress that, I have nowhere to wear now.
I could see that it was probably her idea. I could kind of see that because like her personality is very out there, and like she doesn't stop talking and all that stuff.
I am not putting that all on Meg because Mason is right there.
I'm sure.
Sketchiness.
I'm sure. But yeah, I don't know.
Then Alex comes in, and when Madison sees him, she's talking to Lauren, and she mentions that basically he's not much, like physically, like not missing much. And then we find out that after everything had ended in the pods, Alex had apparently messaged Madison like immediately, like when she got her phone back.
Yeah.
She had a message because clearly he had seen her on Instagram.
Yeah.
And Alex asked her to meet at the airport, and then was like, well, why don't you stay with me in LA? But Madison refused because it didn't work out in the pods.
Right.
And also probably because she was like, Alex. Like, I don't, And they talk on the phone all the time.
5'10"?
And they talk on the phone all the time. And then she found out that Meg messaged him. This is all according to Alex. Mm-hmm. But at the time, she didn't know whether or not they were engaged. And according to Alex, said something about, it was something about her saying that like Alex had been Meg's number one.
Mm-hmm.
And then Madison is like, I think Alex is trying to pit us against each other.
Yeah.
Because then Madison was like, I don't know what the truth is because Alex is a massive liar.
Yeah, apparently.
So we find out that the soundbite was actually where she's calling someone a massive liar is about Alex and not Mason.
Yeah, not Mason, right.
But then she does say F Mason. Like, so.
Does she say that, or does she? I thought Alex was saying that about Mason.
I think it was Madison, but it did get a little messy, so maybe it was Alex.
Yeah, from my understanding is he said
You're
he said,
right.
Fuck Mason.
Right, you're right, because Madison asked Alex about it.
Right.
And then she's quoting Alex.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think he was trying to get with Madison.
Well,
So he
it
was
was,
like, "Fuck
I think
Mason."
Madison was asking because Alex had defended Mason so hard in the pods. So when she's like, well, what about Mason? And he's like, F Mason. That doesn't make any sense. What are we doing?
Right.
Alex, what game are you playing?
Right. Short King, come on.
Once again, that is Daniel.
Daniel, damn it.
Alex was the nerd who went in the bathroom.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Not funny.
Not laughing.
Not funny. Like, I know you're holding it in. Okay, so then we go to Molly and David. And Dave says he's usually the one who messed up. And Molly calls him on it. And she's like, so you're saying it's all her fault. She's done it all wrong. And Molly reiterates that on one of their first conversations in the pods was about how Dave pushed people away. Mm-hmm. And Dave pushes back and he's like, nope, I didn't do that here. It's not what happened. Molly says she wouldn't have cared if the roles were reversed because David tries to flip it and be like, well, what if it happened to you? She's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And then she asked Dave, well, how long ago has it been since you hooked up with someone? And Dave was like, can't. Besides
long, huh?
Lauren. I know, right? She's like, besides Lauren, I really can't remember. Which,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
He probably can't remember because they weren't important enough to introduce to his sister. So he
Oh,
just blocks
right.
it out.
Hey.
And Dave says his sister basically needs to approve of what he does. Mm-hmm. And then it gets super weird because he said he had a conversation with his sister where she agreed he could go on the show. And he could do the pods.
He got permission.
But he could not get engaged.
Right. So what's the point of being on the show?
Thank you. What, you on the wrong show.
Exactly.
Going on Too Hot to Handle.
Yeah. But Well,
I was gonna say the ultimatum, but that doesn't really. I mean, technically, she could be like, "Don't get married." It still kind of would work better, but he didn't have someone. But like, I was just like, "This is so weird. Why would you even go?"
Yeah.
It's the whole point. So then we also realized Molly is fighting harder for Lauren than Dave did, and Molly is like, "You're making excuses." Thank you. And at this point, Dave is sitting by himself by a fire saying he wants to talk with Lauren and go home with her. And he says he sucks. He says he sucks at wanting what he can't have.
Yeah.
And a producer chimes in and asks if his sister knows they broke up. And Dave says yes. And she reacted with a text message with a teary-eyed emoji. And said that she'd be there for him if she needed him. Which also to me does not sound like a sister who's like a terrible hard ass. Like she didn't like send like a praise emoji.
Right.
Or
Like, thank God.
Right? Like weird. So Dave
Go ahead.
Dave acknowledges he took things too personally and wishes he could go back and do things differently.
Now that he lost her.
Less than 24 hours after he'd pulled the shenanigans he did. So Dave goes to talk to Lauren.
Yeah.
And he asks if he can hug her and then apologizes for avoiding her. You know, she hugs him. It was giving weird to me. If you just dump me, don't hug me.
Well, it was a side hug.
It was a side hug. It was. That's fair. And then he says he's bad at admitting he was wrong and that it's not her. He was very much giving the "it's not you, it's me" speech.
Right, yeah.
And he admits it was his ego getting in the way. Finally. He apologizes and said it killed him seeing that her stuff was out of their apartment. And then I have a little...
After him not being there.
For a week. When she asked him to.
Right.
So then I have a little question mark that also says, is Dave drunk? Because he was just speaking very slowly. Is it a little slurred?
Yeah.
Like, is this liquid courage?
It gave me tipsy vibes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, is this liquid courage that's making him apologize and admit what was really going on?
Right. And then Lauren says like she gave him 150%, and he gave her nothing.
Yep.
Which is accurate, very accurate. He was just stuck on his ways, man.
And for a minute there, because like once again, there's another like weird long pause, and she's kind of smiling, and you were like, all right, someone, one of your friends, help her, get her out of there.
Yeah.
And I was like, they ain't breaking that up. Nobody wants a piece of that.
I thought they would have like, hey, come on over here, something like that, That's what I was
one of the producers would have punched another one in the face. Be like, get away from this. We need this.
Right.
Ratings. And I was really worried. I was like, because you heard me. I was talking to the TV and I was like, walk away now, end it. And I was like, don't you dare take him back.
Right.
And then finally Lauren says she thinks they're past it, like past the point of no return.
Right.
And that she's okay. And then more kind of like awkward pauses, and then it's done.
Yeah.
And then we find out it's 9 days until the wedding.
So we open up with Sarah and Ben.
Yep.
And they're at Ben's church, big ass church. They're up in the balcony section. They're hearing the service. Sarah, to me, as a congregation, is that what they call it? Was happening?
Or I want to say
sermon?
ceremony. Thank you.
Sermon.
A ceremony. Yeah. Sermon. Yeah.
As the sermon was happening, I could feel or I could see it seemed like she was a little bit uncomfortable.
It definitely seemed that way. Yeah. She admits she didn't get the answer she needed to see if the church was accepting, which I'm also like, well, yeah.
You can't really
one sermon is not going to tell. You don't know what the sermon's going to be on, girl. How about you go talk to the pastor and see? Like, he's going to be the one who's leading the congregation, girl.
Exactly.
But she said she would come again.
Right.
We move on to Virginia and Devin. Literally, I just have dance lessons. They don't even speak.
Yeah.
We get nothing.
Take dance class. That's it.
Yeah. Monica and Joey are playing paddleball.
Right. I didn't even write anything.
And then Taylor and Daniel. So they pop up. And just happiness and love and joy and Christmas. And they're at a studio. At first I thought it was an apartment.
Yeah,
but we find out it's like a photo shoot.
Yeah, it's a studio photo shoot.
Because even though Christmas is 9 months away at this point in time, for their wedding favors, they want to do a Christmas card like photo, but it's like in an ornament so that people can hang it on their tree, which I partly wonder, like, it's 9 months away. Are they really going to keep that? But, it's cute. Then we find out 7 days until the wedding. Finally, we get to the wedding dress shopping, which is
Your
my
favorite part
of every season, because I just want to like look and see of all the things.
It's interesting because like you got all these seasons in different countries and stuff like that, and we see these different styles and stuff like that, and it's like, oh, it's very interesting the way different places are.
And even the people, because like you'll be like, ooh, I would have thought she would have gone for this, and then she like super sexy, and then she comes out and it's like ball gown. And I'm like, well, all right, girl, do you? Or some of the guys who like sometimes like they'll come out and I can't remember what country we were watching, and he came out in like a gold suit, and I was like, wait a minute, like that's a lot. So yeah, they're wedding dress shopping. Basically, the ladies find their dresses. It's not like any storyline of like, oh, I can't find what I need.
What'd you think of the dresses?
I
think, like I think overall from the other seasons compared, I think your reaction to the wedding dresses were actually pretty positive.
Yeah, like no one came out with me being like, oh no, don't do that.
Right.
You're prettier than this.
Yeah.
The guys, not much going on while they're doing their tuxes.
Yeah.
I will say, so Taylor's mom, she comes out in a ball gown, looks great. And then her mom was like, I think it's too much of the girls. It's in her boobs.
Oh, right.
It was not. Like, it was not. But she tries on another one. And they're like, you've gone from princess to queen. That's it. And then they put on her veil. And then, like, the mom gets up to, like, do it with the lady who was helping her get ready.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, you're a part of it. I get it. You want to be a part of all the things.
And then Daniel's mom was there, too.
Yes, which was super sweet.
Yeah, and I don't think we've ever seen that in any other season.
I don't think we have either.
Yeah.
But I think they're like, I think this is like real for them. Like they're like, y'all can't get divorced. I hope you know that. So this is real for us.
Right.
We're doing all the real things.
Right.
Virginia picks out this A-line sparkly dress, beautiful, and she starts to cry. And her mom comes up to her and she's just saying that dating has been so hard, and that she talks about how she fell in love with Devin. And I was like, oh, wait, they are getting married. This seems very real.
Yeah.
And for her to just be like, it's been so hard, and now I found him, and it's so nice. And I was like, oh, heartstrings. So, yeah, guys try on their suits. Joey.
So Joey comes out with a blue suit. Or is it blue jacket?
No, it was a blue suit, and he changed to a lighter blue.
Yeah.
And was like, which one's more unique? And I was like, of course he wants what's more unique. Oh, my gosh.
I like the lighter blue. I thought that was nice.
Same.
Yeah.
But then he also mentions that he's a completely live-in-the-moment person, which I thought was interesting considering his background. He does seem like a planner, actually. But he says that to say, I'm not going to have an answer until that day.
Yeah.
Which I actually don't think is fair. I feel like you need to be, like, I appreciate the couples who are like, no, we check in every day.
Right.
See, like, where we're at.
Yeah.
And,
I think he is a planner, like you said, but, responsibly.
Yeah.
But he also likes to be in the moment of things. Kind of like a balance of both.
Yeah, but I feel like getting married is not the thing you want to be in the moment about.
Yeah.
But we're only 6 days until the wedding.
There we go.
Monica and Joey, they're at the apartment making pizza. It's a cute moment.
Yeah.
Then we switch to Sarah and Ben cooking dinner, and they take a selfie with their air fryers. Like, they're just such an Instagram couple.
Yeah.
And then we go to Virginia and Devin.
Yeah.
So they're eating dinner and talking about it's his birthday week. And it's been a very busy week. Like, his basketball has a tournament or something, or finals, and they're just very busy. And Devin doesn't have time to relax before the wedding.
Yeah, he seems distant.
He seems very, like, just distant, like, kind of just shut off. Like, let me just get through dinner. I got other things to do. Like, his mind's somewhere else. Things seem a little tense. Virginia has printed out the prenup, and Devin says he wants to read through it. And Virginia's like, well, yeah, it's just both of us, leaving with our own things, basically.
Yeah.
And Devin brings up, what do you say to people who ask why get a prenup? Which I thought was an odd question.
And I thought it has been answered
Right.
multiple
He
times.
talked about this with his family. Like, why are we still doing this?
I think he's still struggling on how to answer that. And maybe he just needs a reminder. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
And Virginia says it's just the business part. It's not emotional.
Yeah.
And Devin wants to take more time to read through it, which is fair because she did just hand it to him while they're eating.
Right. Bring it up to his lawyer and his mom.
Which I was just
parents.
like, maybe not. We're adults. How about you just bring it to the lawyer? But okay. And maybe it was to make his parents feel better if they could also see it.
Possibly.
But he says, or just someone he trusts.
Yeah.
I was like, well, all right. I said, it's feeling real cold between them based on the editing. And that wraps up episode 11.
Yeah. Then we get into episode 12, the last episode of this season, of this drop.
And it's called Bride's Last Ride,
Chin, 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 chin.
which I thought was something else until we got into the season, like to the episode. So it's the last dates before the wedding.
Yeah.
And I got to say, they did a good job. They did a job picking the dates.
For sure, for sure.
We open up with Daniel and Taylor.
Last date before the wedding, and they have dinner on the ice.
Well, they were ice skating.
They were ice skating first, yes.
And then they have dinner on the ice.
Yeah.
Oh, and apparently it's Taylor's birthday.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. The food looked good. I think it was like steak, scallops, mashed potatoes.
I love how like we always notice the food because we do, but it did.
It is good.
And we find out that Daniel made her breakfast in bed, and Taylor isn't nervous about the wedding.
Right.
She asked Daniel if he feels like he's experienced enough dating, because she kind of broke down his dating history, and Daniel said that like he made a decision when he was entering this experiment that when he entered the pods, he was ready to have a partner.
Right.
And I was like, well, hello, maturity. That's how it's supposed to go.
For sure.
Talk to Dave. So it's 3 days until the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And we hit up Monica and Joey. And they have a date at the conservatory. And it was so pretty.
That was gorgeous. That was a gorgeous place.
Yep.
And we saw it go from like daylight to night. Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
So Joey isn't saying that he's 100% at this point. So Monica is holding back a little bit. That's what she says. They talk about travel. It did seem a little superficial considering it was their last date. Like they talk about travel, which dates in the pod bumped them up to number one for each other. And Monica asks about Joey's love languages, which I was just like, isn't it a little late to be asking about love languages?
A little bit.
It's a great question, just late.
And then Joey says his love languages are acts of service and words of affirmation.
Yes. And Monica's are words of affirmation and physical touch.
Right. Not PDA.
Right. But like, I think at one point Joey was like, but I've gotten better. And she's like, no, you have.
Yeah.
And Monica admits to comparing them to the other couples when it comes to PDA. And Joey says he's tried to work on to improve it. Monica acknowledges.
Yeah. And Joey, his favorite thing is communication between them.
Yes.
That's just what his favorite thing. I thought that was nice.
I thought it was interesting. He said that he has a lot of love for her. But are you in love with her?
Oh, interesting. I didn't catch that.
Because I did. Because that's different. Something I'm listening for. I have a lot of love for certain people. I'm not in love with them.
Oh, yeah, I didn't catch that. Interesting.
I wonder.
And then she says that she loves all of his facets. And his facets are really nice. And his facets really speak to her.
And that he helps her stay in the moment, which I did think was sweet.
Yeah.
But I'm now looking at them a little bit like question mark. Then we get to Sarah and Ben. They are glamping.
Yeah. They're kind of in a field, but like in the wooded area section.
She calls it an igloo adventure with stargazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't do this. I would do this.
Oh, okay.
I'm just gonna tell you.
Yeah.
I would do this.
You're a glamper.
Yeah, I'm not a camper.
Not a camper.
But I'm a glamper.
A glamper.
So they're both feeling really good. Ben says he's confident about them being together. And he just seems like everything's all good. And Sarah listens. This brings up the service.
Yeah.
And she says she listened to the service about, she's brought up, they listened to another service.
Right. But she did.
She did.
Specifically. Yeah.
And it was about sexual identity.
Right.
And that people said they are welcome, but they still have traditional views, basically. And then she broke it down, because at first I was like, well, what does that mean?
Right.
And then she broke it down, and she says she was surprised that he didn't know, like, where his church stands. And it's like, well, Ben is not worried about anything that doesn't directly involve men. That's abundantly clear.
Yeah, it's very clear that if it doesn't affect him, he's not concentrating, focusing, or not paying attention at all.
Thank you. Like, it's the beauty of privilege. Must be nice.
Yeah.
And then she asked him something, and he says, I don't remember. And I was like, Ben is the most non-remembering man I have ever seen in a show. I'm so irritated about it. And then they talk about how during the service that the church, the sermon was basically, you know, God made us who we are.
Right.
And desires are different than actions, which I was like, all right,
Yeah.
interesting. And the church basically, you know, compared it to, like, if you were, like, your sexual identity, if you were a kid that thought you were fat, your parent would just be like, okay, well, I'm going to get you the help you need.
Yeah.
Versus, like, reaffirm you.
Right.
And she was like, that's not the same thing, you know? And Sarah says that she, you know, she doesn't agree with it. And then Ben was like, well, no, neither do I. Like, you could tell he, like, thinks about it. Like, literally, he's never heard it. And he's like, oh, well, neither do I.
Yeah, Ben seems to just want to he's giving me, like, he wants to say all these right things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, is he going to act on these things?
He's not going to act at all. He's going to sit there and just kind of mind his business while Sarah is over there pulling her hair out because she's like, nope, I disagree, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And when they have kids, good luck.
Right.
You know?
And then they go into, like, are you open to finding another church that would align with both of our values or something like that, right? And I feel like that's a big deal for Ben, but he doesn't acknowledge that it isn't a big deal.
I agree.
He just says, yeah, sure.
And he says, there's never going to be one church where you believe everything they say.
True.
And then they have an interesting, but he's open, but they have an interesting kind of exchange. And she's like, I know I talk about this a lot. Like, it's not my only, you know, value.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, but I feel like it kind of minimizes our other values. And I was like, all right, but these are also, like, really big things.
Yeah.
Like politics, religion. Like,
The core values
know.
are all big things.
right. So I was just like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sarah talks about wanting to bring him to Pride. And Ben was like, no, I'll go to Pride. Diversity is beautiful.
It's like she always makes it a point to, would you do this? But it's like the same thing she's been asking.
That's because she knows they aren't a match. And she's trying to force it.
Right.
Especially because she's telling everybody, no, everything's great.
You're right. And then Ben's kind of done talking, like, heavy topics at this point.
He's like, I'm tired.
I'm tired
so
of
And then
all
he's
these
like,
heavy discussions.
the week has been so rough.
Yeah.
And my job has been so crazy. And then he's like, if you ever feel devalued because of my job, you know, just let me know. And I'm thinking, that's not why she's going to feel devalued, but okay. And they end up ending their date by hotboxing.
Yeah.
He hotboxes her in the igloo.
Yeah. AKA thoughts in the igloo.
And there's no
And
ventilation.
I was like, that's love. That's love.
Don't bring that over here. Don't bring that over here. You keep that right over there. So.
But she says that she will enjoy his farts when he's old.
She's lying.
She's lying?
She's lying.
That's love.
That's being a nurse. You just take care of everybody. So we move on to Virginia and Devin. They're having a carriage ride.
Yeah, which is tricky, a little risky,
How come?
because you're dealing with horses' asses. And if they poop, they fart, that's coming your way.
It's they have like a little sack usually that they poop on because they can't leave it in the street.
That shit's
And
still gonna
You're
stink.
not like directly behind. It's not what you're seeing. And I think they were in. You know, it's like a carriage situation.
Yeah.
Don't
try and
ruin
paint it.
carriage rides for me.
Okay, all
Don't
right.
ruin this
Well,
for
I'm
me.
just saying. I'm just saying.
So they talk about creating a home together. Like, it's a really brief conversation before they get to their interactive dining experience, which I don't really know how interactive that was because they basically just ate, and I don't know if it was because the chef was talking to them.
Yeah, I think it was
Figure
just the editing at that point, honestly.
Virginia talks about how much of a good guy Devin is and asks if there's anything they need to talk about.
Again.
This is what she does. This is like the script they
But
have.
granted, I think at this point, like, they haven't talked about the prenup at all.
They haven't.
Since she brought it up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is their storyline.
Yeah.
Devin says no, and he knows everything he needs to know, and he's not nervous. And I was like, but are you not nervous because you're going to break up? Like, it was just, I wasn't sure. And they haven't talked about the prenup. This is when we find out they haven't talked about the prenup since she brought it up. And she says the only thing that has been keeping her going, like in the past, week or so, is him, because they've been so busy. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, well, look at Virginia's the one giving all of like the deep, loving compliments these last couple episodes.
Right. Yeah.
But Devin turns it around, because then he surprises her with this big old gift.
Big ass bag.
Which your first question was where was he hiding that?
Yeah,
Did the producers bring it?
But then I knew what he did.
Yeah, he brought it beforehand.
That's right.
Yeah. So he gave Virginia a golden basketball entitled Team Buckley, and a jersey. It was number 3 with the name Devin, and then number 18 with the name Virginia to signify their wedding day.
Yeah.
And Virginia seems to love it.
I guess you're not a fan of that.
Don't give me no basketball, no jersey. I mean, for him, I get it. It's cute because it's what he does.
It's what he does, yeah. He's all about it, and she knew that going into it.
Yes, so match made in heaven there.
Yeah.
2 days to the wedding. Yeah. Now we're at the bachelor parties.
Right.
So,
we start off with the guys, right?
Yes.
They're at the Vikings practice facility.
Yep.
And I was like, oh shit, they're gonna play some football,
right?
Stuff like that. So they meet up with one of the players. They get their own jerseys,
which was cute. That was cute, getting your own jersey.
Yeah, they have some fun. They see if they could throw the ball into
the net.
Yeah. And everyone did fairly well. Who was it that missed a lot? Daniel, right?
It was Daniel.
Daniel kept missing
with the throwing. Then they kicked. They were trying to kick a field goal thing.
Yeah.
And that didn't go well for most of them.
Yeah, Joey did really bad.
But Joey did great with throwing the ball in the net, which is good because he got offers for a D1 school.
That's true.
And Devin had his victory dance for the throwing, and everybody seemed very, very surprised.
Culture.
Also that.
Right.
And then we get to the bachelorette party, and the theme is elderly.
Right. Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Surprising. I'm very surprised about that.
Honestly,
for a bachelorette party.
They all seem like kind of low key, like not high maintenance girls.
That's true. That's
so I feel like they're more interested in having a good time than like looking sexy.
Yeah.
So they're at the Mall of America, which I'm not gonna lie. Initially, I was like, I'm sorry, they brought y'all to a mall, but I've never been to the Mall of America,
right?
And I did not know that they had like roller coasters and things. And then I was like, you know what? This is actually like my childhood dream. Let me be in a mall where I can just do all of the things and have all of the food. And there's no one there.
Right.
I like it.
I like it.
And I noticed this is the first time the ladies haven't been at had strippers of like any kind, like going to like a burlesque bar or anything, because usually they give the ladies some type of burlesque stripper situation and then they give the men some type of sports situation.
Yeah, that's true.
So I was like, okay, ladies. And now we're down to 1 day till the weddings.
1 day.
And back to Virginia and Devin.
Yep.
Devin walks in with the prenup.
So they're making breakfast, I think, right?
I think she was like putting dishes away or something in the kitchen.
In the kitchen, yeah.
And Devin says he brought it to their family attorney and also had his mom check it out. Yeah. So immediately I was like, oh no. And he says after they read it,
I felt like there was a long ass pause. Was there a long ass pause? Or maybe it just took forever.
I don't know.
Anyway.
It might have been. I was just happy he did it.
Either way.
After they read it, it said you can leave with, after they read, basically, it says you can leave with what you came with. Yeah, you keep your own debt, and you split what you make together.
Right. And she's like, yeah, just like I told you.
Exactly. Like I told you 10 days ago.
Right.
And his mom said she was a lot more at ease, which made then Devin feel better. And Virginia was like, well, I was worried because I didn't know where you stood, which I'm also just like, it is 1 day to y'all's wedding and you didn't know where he stood with the prenup? All right.
Yeah. Well, he was being quiet about it. too. You know, it seemed like, right? From
He
what we
seemed like
know.
he was being quiet, but also like distant in general, which is like scary when you're like, all right, we got a day to the wedding and you haven't signed the prenup. And we haven't talked about it either.
Right.
But he did give her that basketball and jersey, so maybe that's what made her reassured.
Yeah, yeah.
And then both Devin and Virginia sign, and it's done.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it's going to be smooth sailing so far. Then we get to the wedding day, and it's Sarah and Ben.
Only Sarah and Ben.
Don't be mad about it.
I mean, we've never seen that before, where it's only one wedding day.
I think we have.
We
because
have?
it's the intro.
We definitely haven't seen it that long.
think
That
we
was
have.
long.
Because what has happened as the seasons progress is that they have less couples who even make it to the altar.
Yeah.
So they start dragging things out
Right. And they dragged this motherfucker out.
unnecessarily. Like we definitely could have had all the weddings in one episode.
Right.
I say that not having seen the last
that's true.
drop, but still.
But we go with Ben and Sarah.
Yes.
And I think I go into it saying that they're gonna say yes. You know, I go into it.
Yeah. I feel like they'll say yes, even though they shouldn't.
Right.
So we open up with Sarah's friends and her mom showing up to get ready. And Sarah says she's been taking her family's thoughts and feelings into consideration, but she also feels good. And Sarah, we find out from Sarah's mom that her mom and Ben's mom have been texting.
Right.
Which is cute
Yeah.
because we never met Ben's family. We only met his very curated group of friends.
True.
And
Curated.
yeah, and I stand by that. Sarah tells her mom that she went to church with Ben. And then her mom's like, well, Sarah, if you went with Ben, will you go with me? Which saw that coming.
Yeah.
Because Sarah's mom's like, I believe that's an important part of having like a important foundation, you know. And Sarah tells her mom basically what she told Ben. I'll go on holidays, you know, but I'm not really invested in like that church. Maybe we can find one that will work with us together.
Yeah, she seems like she's coming to the realization of like how it actually will go with the whole church thing.
Extremely slowly, but surely.
Yeah.
And the opposing views come up again, but kind of like in a passive way. They don't really like dwell on it. And the sister says, you should be questioning yourself and it's okay. You know, because I feel like Sarah's been pushing this so hard and trying to be like, no, everything's fine.
Yeah.
And her sister's like, it is okay for you to not necessarily be okay with everything.
Her sister always keeps her in a reality check.
Loving the sister.
Yeah, she plays that role for sure.
Yeah. She gives big sister vibes, but like not in the Monica big sister way.
Right.
You know, where like I'm looking out for you, but I'm also know my space and boundaries.
Right.
So we get to Ben, his guys. He says there's nothing that would make him say no. He's sure. They're over there eating their snacks in their suits, having a good time. And immediately I was just like, why are you eating that sandwich in that suit? I feel like it's gonna be a mess.
Put a napkin right there.
Right, just it's a day. It's a day you're gonna be pretty.
Yeah.
No one wants mayo on your tie.
Yeah, or ketchup.
Yep, exactly. So Sarah's sister and her partner say they're too sober for this wedding. And they're just like, let's stop that. So they start drinking. Appreciated it. And then they are having a real family conversation and they're whispering and they're like, I think she's gonna say yes because she feels like she should say yes. And the sister's worried that she's gonna have regrets and that she's just trying to please everyone.
Right.
And you can tell they're not trying to be messy. They're not trying to be mean. They're just like, nah, this is what I think is going to happen.
Yeah.
Which is also why they're drinking more. And then Sarah's stepdad, Andy, comes up to see her. Andy's a character.
Andy's a little bit of a character there.
So Andy comes up and we're expecting this like heartfelt, everyone's crying moment. And Andy was
it was in that vibe too.
For like 5 seconds.
The vibe of the room was cheerful and bright, and then he's like, "You sure he's the one?"
I think you're going too fast.
Oh,
this came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It was just like
exactly.
It's like, thanks, Andy.
Right. Bad timing.
And then he's like, "You were a pain in the ass growing up."
Yeah.
But I'm happy for you. And we'll be here for you.
It's a very old man answer, I guess.
Andy wasn't reading the room.
He was not reading
Andy
the room.
was just saying whatever he thought. And And then the sister asks how she's feeling. Because the sister like wants to take her aside.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, no, don't do this in front of the family. Like have a private conversation. But it actually seems like they have like the kind of relationship they all have.
It also was like, okay, let's stop talking, Andy. Let's bring something
Also
else.
true.
Talk
Thank
about
you.
something else.
That was a good point. Good job, sister. And Sarah says she's feeling nervous but good with herself, and she's just trusting the journey.
Right.
And the sister tells her that she wants her to do what she wants to do, and not what anyone else wants her to do.
At the end of the day, that's all you could ask for.
Exactly. And finally, Sarah says her brain is telling her, I don't know, even though her heart is feeling good about it. And I was like, thank you for finally admitting it.
Yeah.
Because you would not keep bringing all this up if everything was just great for you. So then we get to walking down the aisle. Ben's mom and grandma walk him down the aisle.
Yeah.
And we spot Lauren and Molly at the wedding.
Hey.
And I was like, that's right. They need a spinoff, just like the two of them on a dating show. That'd be cute. Andy walks Sarah down the aisle, and Andy's not done giving advice.
Right.
Andy is like,
Let's bring down the room again.
exactly. Marriage is a negotiation. It's a constant. What are we going to do? And then I think he was like, is this guy smart? And it was just like,
and then he gets the eye rolls too.
Right. And she was like, yeah, and he's like, well, I hope so. You're marrying him. And I was just like, oh, Andy. And like, she's clearly nervous, and Andy is not helping to calm her down.
Right.
And like, she tries like to lay her head on his shoulder at one point, and and Andy's just like, all right, well, let's go. And we get to the ceremony, and they're going through with our officiant with so much facial hair.
The mustache was too much. I felt like it was off-centered. Not off-centered, but like too much on one side. Something was going on there. Anyways.
And he gets to it, and Sarah gets asked first. And we're hearing the whole time.
She breaks into hives.
You could start to see the hives like on her upper
Starting
shoulder.
To get that nervousness.
And I was like, and I'm wondering if we couldn't see it on her face because of the makeup. And I was just like, oh, buddy. And we see the Sarah gets asked first, but like this whole like maybe 30 seconds leading up to the episode cutting off is his heartbeat.
Right.
And going faster and
gets
faster. And I was like, really, Netflix? This is what we're doing?
Right.
Okay.
And it's a long ass pause,
And then it ends. And then we get our coming up. Obviously, it's all the weddings.
Right.
And the couple things I caught was Monica's sister still thinks the wedding is too soon.
Right.
I need her, Nicole, to be quiet at this point. And then we get this soundbite about Devin being like, I don't know if I'm ready to marry her. Now, we've been misled with sound bites before, but at least what they're making us see looks like he may be getting cold feet.
Yeah.
He already signed a prenup, so I don't know what you're worried about now. And that is it for episodes 10 through 12.
Yeah. That's crazy. So we got a breakup. We got what true friendship looks like between the girls and stuff like that.
Molly and Lauren.
Yeah. We learned a little bit more about properly communicating, getting along, and asking the right questions, especially when it comes to marriage and relationships and stuff like that. I really do appreciate the moms in this episode.
Yeah.
I think they have their head on straight, and it shows a lot about, how they raise their daughters and sons and stuff like that. To some of them. to the moms that we saw.
I think we saw in this last drop, I think we finally saw kind of what we expected to see throughout the whole series.
For sure.
Some more depth, some more, things that are interesting.
Yeah. More real conversations.
Yeah. So I'm here for it, and I can't wait to see how it all ends at the weddings.
Right. And, relationships can be hard. And with Love is Blind, it's a little bit harder.
I think that's the perfect way to put it.
Yeah. So next week? Yeah, next week.
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to be covering episode 13.
It's the weddings.
Only episode 13. And then we have the reunion after that. That's going to be coming out the next day.
Or a couple, it comes out like
days before.
Sunday.
After, yeah. So yeah, next week is just going to be one episode recap, and then we'll do another episode of just recapping the reunion.
It feels like it's been so long, but it's really been pretty quick.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's been crazy, but we'll see what happens. And we'll definitely give our inputs. So stick around. And my name is Riera. This is Sybil.
Hello.
And we out.